set, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sound of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 50, the 10, the 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tay Von Austin.
But Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels feared to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride!
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night!
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another live stream here on the Country Roads Webcast channel, July 5th edition. Here we're going to discuss, the Big 12 preseason poll released, earlier this week. Some of the all-conference teams as well. The Mountaineers did place one there on the all-conference first-team offensive. We'll talk about that momentarily. But as always, of course, want to get your all's thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, all that good stuff. So feel free to drop those in the chat, and I'll talk with you guys throughout this stream as well. Also have a little tidbit on some WVU uniform information that we got today that I thought was pretty cool. We'll touch on that as well. But, of course, the Big 12 preseason poll came out kind of earlier this week. Unfortunately for me, it came out the same day. I don't know what they were thinking, releasing it the same day as the EA Sports College Football 25 Deep Dive, the Dynasty Deep Dive. So that took up most of my time this week. That's why I'm a little bit later getting to this. But definitely, if you haven't checked that out, check that out on my other channel, JC's Pop Culture. A lot of good info came out about the EA Sports College Football video game if you're into that. But otherwise, we're here to talk about the Mountaineers and talk some Big 12 in general here as the preseason poll was released. So with no further ado, let's get into discussing that a little bit. I'm going to pull it up here, and I'm sure you guys know by now where the Mountaineers were selected, but just in case, we will pull it back up here one more time if I can find where I've got the screen at here. Here we are. Of course, this is the Big 12 preseason poll and how it was voted. You see Utah taking away the top spot, getting 20 first-place votes. Kansas State not far behind them, 19 first-place votes. Then you got Oklahoma State third, Kansas fourth. Cowboys got 14 first-place votes. Kansas got 5. And the last team garnering first-place votes was Arizona there with 3 first-place votes at number 5. Then you get Iowa State at 6. And, of course, there's our West Virginia Mountaineers at 7. Last year they were picked 14th. Cut that in half. This year they're picked at the 7th spot. So at least they're in the top half of the conference. I guess we can say that now. The 16-team conference that'll be introduced here in the Big 12 in 2024. Then rounded out UCF 8th, Texas Tech 9th, TCU 10th, Colorado 11th, Baylor 12th, BYU 13th, Cincinnati 14, Houston 15, and Arizona State at 16. Now, obviously, when this was released, I was kind of hoping to see, or if I was, making my poll, I would have had the Mountaineers somewhere in those top 5 teams probably. At least probably would have had them 6th above Iowa State. But, it's nothing that I'm too upset about. And there's a couple of reasons why. I'm going to touch on those here in just a second. But the first one of those being the fact of I don't want us to be up too high in that poll because I like the fact of us having that motivating factor like we had last season of being, undervalued a little bit, possibly being overlooked. And, the coaches can use that as a rallying point like they did last season. Neil Brown and the staff have done a great job finding little things to motivate the team week to week. So this can just be another, bullet in the chamber there for them to use for motivation tactics. So I like that. But even further beyond that is something else that I found when you look at the history of the Big 12 preseason poll from the past couple of years. Let me pull this up, guys, because I think you guys are going to find this interesting. And one reason I'm not as upset of West Virginia being picked 7th as I originally was, if we pull up, let me start with last year's here. So this is the 2023 Big 12 poll from prior to last season. And when you look here, obviously the results were way different. West Virginia was picked 14th, finished tied for 4th. But what stands out to me, if you go right here where West Virginia was picked this year, West Virginia was picked 7th, right? Well, last year, Oklahoma State was picked to finish 7th in the conference as well. And guess who won the Big 12 conference? Oklahoma State. There, secured a spot. And then let's go 1 year further than that as well. Let's go back to 2022, prior to the 2022 season. And when we look at this preseason poll, the Big 12 voted on prior to the 2022 season, let's go right here to the 7th spot where West Virginia is this year. Guess who was picked there? TCU was picked 7th in 2022. And of course, we know TCU won the conference, not only won the conference, but went on to play for it in the national championship that season. Of course, not the best showing in the national championship game, but they did make it there, winning a college football playoff game and then getting to the national championship as well. And they were predicted 7th. So if we're West Virginia fans here, hopefully we're expecting, and hoping that history repeats itself as far as the Big 12 preseason poll is concerned, because the past 2 seasons, in 2022 and in 2023, the team that was picked 7th went on to win the Big 12. So could actually be a good omen for West Virginia in the long run. You never know. So that's something that definitely stuck out to me with it, for sure. I definitely think, like I said, the Mountaineers are, of course, being undervalued. I think they'll finish higher than that personally. But like I said, could be a good omen. Could be a little bit of a good omen. We got Forrest posted in here. Y'all check out his channel there, WVU Football Going Deep. Got Tim Green in here. What's going on, guys? Always appreciate y'all hopping in here. Eric Flowers in here as well. He says he's putting more money on us, winning more than 6.5 games. I did the same, man. I actually took an alternate line on DraftKings of over 7.5 wins, and because they had better odds, so I took a little bit on that. And then our Big 12 championship odds on DraftKings is plus, I think, 1,500 or something like that. So, you can bet $10 or $15 and have a nice little payout if we, win the Big 12 by chance. So definitely, and I think that there's a good chance that we could do it. We got as good chance as anyone else in this conference. You see it's wide open there. You see all the teams receiving first place votes, and we're going to see how it shakes out at the end of the season because, preseason polls, once the season kicks off on August 31st, you can kind of throw those out the window. It doesn't matter. All that matters is what's happening there on the gridiron. We know games aren't played on paper. But, when I went back and looked at some of the other preseason polls just to kind of see how they ranked those and versus what the end of season results were, my eyes got really big when I seen that, the team picked 7th the past 2 years, went on to win the conference, and West Virginia's picked 7th this year. So definitely something that kind of excites me a little bit. And, maybe if you're a little superstitious, that's something to, hang your hat on. But nonetheless, the Big 12 poll was released. Hey, what's going on, Earl? Good to see you in here as well, man. Hey, Tim says, according to that, Jordan, we've already got the Big 12 championship wrapped up. Yeah, hopefully, man. Hopefully, like I said, if history repeats itself, which, sometimes it tends to do, it's happened 2 years in a row. If it happened a third year in a row, that would certainly be a trend. And somebody would probably be looking to be picked 7th next year's poll rather than 1st. They'd probably be more happy about that if it does end up falling in line with that, which hopefully, fingers crossed, it does, because I think the Mountaineers got a great shot at it, Tim. I really do. W Football Going Deep says people are seriously underrating the defense when it's obviously much, much improved, led by Bazooka Burks. I love that name, man. I love that name. I saw the video you put out with that title. I haven't got a chance to tune into it yet, but I love that name, man. I think Aubrey's going to have a special season. He really was special in 22. Last year, he was looking super special before, that injury, and then took him a while to kind of get his sea legs back under him after that. But I think by the time the season wrapped up, you were seeing him coming back into form, and now he's got a whole off season under his belt. And if he's playing closer to the line, playing a little bit more at that spear position, man, he's really going to do some damage, because I've been going back and rewatching the 2023 season, which you guys that are almost heaven level members here on the channel probably know that, watching the game commentaries and such. But if there's one thing that stood out to me, it's Aubrey Burks a lot of the times racking up TFLs. I just did the Texas Tech game recently, and in that one, he had 2 or 3 of them just absolutely diagnosing a run, coming screaming downhill and blowing it up in the backfield. So that really gets me giddy for him possibly playing that spear spot more this season. And I agree with you, Forrest. I think the WVU defense is being severely underrated this year. But I think a lot of it is a lot of people from the outside don't really understand what we have. They've absolutely got a ton of depth, more so than we've had there on that side in quite some time. And, bringing back a lot of pieces from last year that were battling injury, plus the new ones that we've added, I think it's going to be a very special unit. And if it is, and it's improved the way that I think it could be, it could lead to a very special season indeed. And having said that, and how the defense is being undervalued, we can look at that here and see that in the Big 12 preseason teams. As West Virginia here, if you look at the defensive team, they're completely snubbed. Nobody on the West Virginia Mountaineers defense. Of course, they only released, the first team, so no first teamers on the defensive side for West Virginia. And like I was talking about earlier, when you're talking about motivating factors, bulletin board material, if you want to call it that, this could be something for the defense to have a little bit, to rally around, that they don't have anyone on this list. But you see the Big 12 preseason all defensive team here. You get Tyler Batty from BYU, Dante Corleone, and BJ Green. Three of the five defensive linemen, the other two being Lee Hunter at UCF and Junior Tefanu at Utah. Then in the linebackers, you got Jacob Manu from Arizona, and then the two from Oklahoma State, both good players there, Nick Martin and Colin Oliver. Colin Oliver, coming off the edge, I think he's a pretty special defender. Then you get into the defensive backfield here, Takario Davis from Arizona, Travis Hunter from Colorado. I think we were all expecting that one. Jeremiah Cooper from Iowa State, Kobe Bryant, and Mello Dotson, so two Kansas defensive backs making the Big 12 first team. And then Jack Brownmeester, the punter from Utah, as the first-team punter. But when we pull up the offensive list, this is where the Mountaineers were actually not snubbed, and rightfully so. I was hoping this would be the case, that we would at least get this man on here. As you see, Wyatt Milam, a Big 12 first-team offensive lineman, as he should be. I think he's got a case to be, an All-American at the end of the season when it's all said and done. He's been voted to a few of those preseason All-American teams. Probably touch on that more momentarily. But when you look at the Big 12 preseason All-First team here, Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback there from Colorado. Ollie Gordon, the running back from Oklahoma State, which obviously we'll see what happens with that. I'm sure that he'll be around by the time West Virginia plays him, but I'll be surprised if there's not some suspension coming. I'm sure you guys have heard about the Ollie Gordon alleged DUI. And Taj Brooks, the running back from Texas Tech, also there on the first team. The fullback is Steve O'Klotz from Iowa State. You get McMillan, the wide receiver from Arizona, who's going to be a dangerous wide receiver. Got a chance to be one of the best in the conference, coming in on one of those new teams that are entering the conference. Kobe Hudson from UCF, Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, and Brendan Presley from Oklahoma State, rounding out the wide receivers. Brant Kuth from Utah, or is it Keith? I can't remember. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, but he's making his return. And, I think that's one of the reasons Utah has a lot of the hype that they do, is he was out last season, as was their quarterback, and they still found, ways to win. And both those guys are returning, Cameron Rising at quarterback and the tight end Kuth there. I think that's one reason a lot of people are kind of valuing them pretty high, but we'll see what happens with that. We also know it's hard to adjust coming into a new conference. I think Utah does have a good team, but we'll see how it shakes out. But I was surprised at tight end that we didn't get any Cole Taylor love there. I know Kuth is really highly regarded, but when you compare the stats, I saw someone put it out on social media the other day. Cole Taylor actually has better stats than the last time that Kuth played as well. But neither here nor there. I digress on that. The offensive line, we mentioned Wyatt Milam included there, but joining him were Joe Mikulski from Oklahoma State, Dalton Cooper from Oklahoma State, Luke Kandra from Cincinnati, Jonah Savinia from Arizona, and then your kicker is Tyler Loop from Arizona, and the punt returner / kick returner, the specialist there, Dre McCray from Texas Tech. So there's kind of a look at the Big 12 preseason team to go along with the preseason poll that we discussed a little bit there as well, as the Mountaineers were picked 7th in that poll. But like I said, not necessarily all bad news, because when you look at the history of it, teams that have picked 7th in the past couple of years have had pretty good success when it comes to winning the conference. So not bad company to be in. And also, joining that is the fact that West Virginia does good as an underdog. They always play better when they're motivated. So I kind of like them flying under the radar. I like us being a little bit overlooked and undervalued. I'm not too upset about it. It's, 7th is a lot better than, 14th as it was last year. So at least we're getting a little bit more respect, but we continue to win, and that's just going to continue to compile, and we'll have a ton of respect heading into 2025 if we can have the type of season that I believe that we can here this upcoming year. Let's see what we got here in the chat, and then I'll touch on some other things that I got. There was a cool piece of uniform information that came out today. I do want to talk about that. Not going to be too terribly long of a stream here, starting a little bit later in the evening, and I got to work in the morning, unfortunately. But I did want to come on here and talk about the preseason poll and the all-conference teams before it got too far away, from being able to talk about it. May already be that. Like I said, been a busy week, so a little bit late on it, but definitely wanted to throw in some thoughts there that I had on it. But having said that, let's see if you guys got anything in the chat here. Did football going deep says even WV media are putting the defense down. Yeah, I've seen some of that as well. I think that, maybe from even in-house, they're being, well, not in-house as far as the team itself, but like you said, some of the media undervaluing the defense as well. I think a lot of that is maybe they're worried about how a lot of these new pieces coming in are going to gel, how the chemistry is going to work. But I think we've learned one thing. It's, from the past couple of years, I think that this staff has really kind of found what they're looking for in transfers and how they want to be, selective with them. We saw the success they had last season, and this year I think that they brought in not only people that can be those frontline guys, but even depth pieces as well that are going to help this defense. So I think a lot of people are going to be pleasantly surprised when August 31st rolls around and they see this defense step onto the field, because I really, West Virginia led the Big 12 Conference in sacks last year. I think the defensive line has a chance to be on par or close to what they were last year. I know they may not have quite as much depth, some of that due to injury. A couple of guys that they liked not going to be around this season, Corey McIntyre Jr., unfortunately, being one of those. But then when you look at the back half of the defense there, the linebackers and the secondary, I think they've got a chance to take a big step up from where they were last season. The linebacking core was strong early last season before, the injuries to Trey Lathan and some of those happened down the line. But now you look and you've got, Ben Cutter, who did get that experience last year where he was forced into that role probably earlier than they expected. He's going to have, another year of seasoning under his belt, but he's also probably not going to be called upon to play as much. He's going to be probably a bit more of a depth piece this year when you add guys like Reed Carrico, who I'm pretty excited about. But the main two linebackers that I'm really, really think are going to make huge impacts. Of course, Trey Lathan, we saw what he could do last season, but Josiah Trotter, man, that guy looks like an NFL player already with his body. And then you look back into the secondary, and I think that West Virginia kind of is trying to not only duplicate what they did with Beanie Bishop last season, but I think they have guys that could be, multiple guys that could possibly be on the level that Beanie Bishop was. And of course, those safeties, we're returning a lot at that position with Burks, with Wilson, and then bringing in, more experience with Jaheim Joseph, Kakora Tarnu coming in there to contribute at the safety spot. I think that the depth is there on defense that it hasn't been in quite some time. So I'm with you, Forrest. I think they're going to surprise some people. I really do. Eric Flower said both sides of the ball will be better this year. That it factor GG walks around with has affected the whole program. The recruits can even feel it. I agree, man. It's just, it's that intangible thing that he has that people really just want to play with him. He's the type of quarterback that you'd run through a brick wall for, right? I mean, I'd run through a brick wall for GG, and I'm not even on the team. So imagine how those guys in the locker room feel, right? Definitely agree with that. He does have a little bit of that it factor for sure. Tim Green says he was extremely surprised no West Virginia defensive players made the first team. Me too, man. Me too. Aubrey Burks was extremely snubbed, in my opinion. That's just what I think. Bazooka Burks there, as Forrest has called him. Definitely he's going to have a big year, and hopefully he's got that hung up on his, locker on his bulletin board, just so that he can show people at the end of the year, hey, you guys undervalue me. I might not have me on the preseason team, but I'd say at the end of the year, he'll be on that all Big 12 team. That's my prediction for Aubrey Burks. And, maybe some of those other guys I mentioned too, Trey Lathan, Josiah Trotter, wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe pop up on there also. Let's see. We got anything else here? Tim Green says, I think not only the football team feels good about this year, also believe all the people I've talked to are really excited about this year's upcoming season. Yeah, and it's nice. It's a nice change in tune. Some of the national media may be undervaluing us still yet, but it's a nice change in tune to hear the fan base kind of at a point where I don't want to say we're all completely united behind this team. You still hear some people that are, withholding judgment and, think that last year could have been a fluke, but I 100% think that last year was just a tip of the iceberg of what we're about to see over the next few years of Mountaineer football. I think we're about to get on a pretty solid run, and you're going to see kind of it come to fruition this year, in my opinion. But I think the hefty majority really is like they're like what you're talking about, Tim. They're really excited about this upcoming year, about the potential that this team has and how special of a season this could be for WVU, which is great to see. It's good to have excitement in the fan base again, and hopefully, the team follows suit and, really backs that up on August 31st. Because if they come out and they, beat Penn State I think that then that's when you'll have complete buy-in. This whole fan base is going to be behind this team, and that's when you really could be cooking with gas because the team, I think they've been completely bought in. I think the team chemistry is there. This locker room, these guys really love each other. They're willing to play for each other. As Eric mentioned in chat, you got a great leader there in Gigi. I think you got great leaders on the defensive side as well. Burks being one of those that we've talked about. So I think that the team within the building, it's there already, and the fan base, it's almost there. We get all that together. It's going to be a special season, I do believe. As WVU Earl says, this is the best I've felt about our team in years. Likewise, man. Likewise. I think it's got a chance to be, a really special season, man. A really special season as far as what we've done in the Big 12 so far. We really haven't crossed that threshold yet, haven't been able to reach that Big 12 conference championship game, and it's time. We're long overdue to do that. This year could be that year, in my opinion, WVU Earl. Tim Green has a question. He says, who do you think could possibly be our next Beanie Bishop on defense? Great question, Tim Green. I know the coaching staff has been really high on Garnett Hollis when he came in, but the guy that's really impressed me the most, just, by my eyes and kind of the following it, I think Aiden Garnes. I really like Aiden Garnes. I think he's going to have a special year. And the fun thing about him is he's not only a one-year guy. He can be here a couple years if he would like, if I'm not mistaken. So I really do like Aiden Garnes at the cornerback spot. I think between him and Garnett Hollis, they're both going to be very solid. And then, you add to that some of the guys that we also have. And TJ Crandall, I really do like him. He's a little bit younger. He's going to be a redshirt sophomore, but he's been battling that hamstring injury. Hopefully he can get healthy. I do like some of the backup guys that we have there. But Aiden Garnes is my personal favorite if we're talking defensive backs. But when you go back another level, Kokora Tarnu coming over from Jacksonville State, he kind of played more corner there. He's going to play more safety here at WVU. I think he's got a chance to be a pretty good player as well. But if I had to pick one out of the three, it's probably Aiden Garnes, although Garnett Hollis, the staff's really high on him for a reason, 6'2" corner, strong physical guy. I think he's going to be the other starter. But I think Aiden Garnes just has a little something to him. He's really a guy that attacks the football. I could see him, Garnett Hollis could be a guy that locks down one side of the field and they try and attack Aiden Garnes. And if they do that, I think that's going to be a mistake because Aiden Garnes, I think, is my prediction to lead the team in interceptions this year. I think he's aggressive with that. I think he's really good at, attacking the football, pulling the trigger, as they like to say, and, going after it when he sees it. He's really decisive, and he will either break up a pass or get a lot of picks the majority of the time this season. I think that he's going to be special. Even rewatching the game between West Virginia and Duquesne last year, he kind of stood out a little bit. He wasn't the one guarding Hudson Clement, by the way. You can go back and watch the highlights and see, for the most part, West Virginia didn't really get to throw to his side a lot because he was doing a pretty good job in coverage. And, when you watch the spring, whether it was throughout, the 11-on-11 stuff we got to see in the spring game or even the one-on-one drills, he was really impressive in some of those as well. So I like W Football Going Deep says TJ Jackson will give a better edge rush than last year. That's someone else that's not being talked about enough for sure. TJ Jackson, he's also, I saw he's the highest rated transfer as far as PFF is concerned that we brought in on defense. And that's, adding to what I already feel like is a strong defensive line when you have, Eddie V, you have Fator Mamolba, you have Heyman Russell, and of course Sean Martin. I think that definitely, TJ Jackson could be a key piece there because he's gonna be someone that they're not really keying on a lot. He may surprise some people. So I like that. Trade to Lathan will shine beside Trotter way better than Koba last year. I agree. I think that when you got Lathan and Trotter on the field together, and it's no knock on Lee Koba, that guy was great. He was a physical player and stuff, but Lathan, I think, is just on another level. And Trotter, man, like I said, that guy looks like an NFL player already. He's just a different looking linebacker than what we typically see here at West Virginia, just in, body frame and style. You can tell he's definitely just been groomed for that pro football career. His dad with the great pro football career, his brother about to be on his way to doing the same. And I think, Josiah Trotter will be the next in line. But from the first second I saw him in the spring, he immediately stood out. And him and Lathan together, I wouldn't want to be an opposing offense facing those two guys. I really wouldn't. The fan base is here. We are undefeated. That's right. We're undefeated until further notice. And hopefully that's something we can say not only now, but hopefully we can say that into September, October, maybe even November. That'd be fun, right? We'll see what happens with it. But other than the Big 12 preseason poll, I also wanted to pull up, of course, we do have Big 12 Media Days coming up next week. So in case you didn't know, these are the people or the players that will be representing the Mountaineers there in Vegas now, not in Texas this year, moving to Vegas to kind of accommodate, the West Coast flavor of the league now. But we have Aubrey Burks, Bazooka Burks, as our friend Forrest Poston has coined him there, and I like that. GG, as I like to call Garrett Green here. Sean Martin, of course, from my neck of the woods there down here in Mercer County. And then Wyatt Milam, who I think has a chance to be one of the best offensive linemen in the entire country. I think he's got a chance to be an All-American at season's end and probably a first-round draft pick, if I'm being honest. Wyatt Milam has a chance to do that for sure. So that's who will be representing WVU at Big 12 Media Days. You get 2 defenders, Burks and Martin, and then 2 on the offensive side in Garrett Green and Wyatt Milam. And speaking of Wyatt Milam, one of the other things I wanted to share here, we're talking about his All-American status, hopefully at season end, but he also is getting some love in the preseason. A preseason second-team All-American by the Walter Camp Association there, as you see the university putting that up with the graphic there. So some preseason love for Wyatt Milam, not only within the conference, but nationally as well, and rightfully so. The guy hasn't given up a sack in a long, long time, and hopefully that doesn't start this year protecting Garrett Green's blind side. I don't think you could have a better guy protecting your blind side. Wyatt Milam going to have a special season for the Mountaineers, so I wanted to share that as well. Come back here. I'm going to take a swig of my coffee, and I'll catch up on some of your all's chats, and then I got a couple other news tidbits I'll share with you guys as well. Hey, Tim, I appreciate that, man. I always appreciate you being here, loyal to tune in and chime in, loyal subscriber here, and I always appreciate you just as much as you appreciate me. Better late than never on this one. At least I wanted to get my thoughts out on it, but finally got to it. W Football Going Deep says Koba had very poor gap discipline, which was hidden when he and Lathan were able to put so much pressure on offenses, play so many shifts. Losing Lathan revealed that Koba had not learned. Yeah, you're right there. After we lost Trey Lathan, it really, changed the defense a lot and hurt the defense a lot without having him to lean on. Especially, you could look if you look at the Big 12 quarterback hits last year, I think he still finished 3rd or 4th. And that's so impressive because he played, 4 games, I think it was, before his leg injury, 4 or 5. So just the fact that he still was up there near the top of the conference and QB hits shows how valuable his ability was to pressure the passer. And like you said, the pressure that they put on offenses as well. So definitely think that it's going to be improved this season with some of the guys that we have there. Like you said, Koba, he was a guy that was, basically all effort, right? He was going to, do it via effort versus being necessarily schematically in the right spot all the time. But this year, I think they have guys that are going to be kind of putting both of those things together, got both those tools in the bag there, that they know the scheme better, they know the right spot to be in, do their 1 of 11, as the coaching staff likes to say. And then they also still have, those physical gifts when you look at Josiah Trotter. So I definitely think that it's going to be special for that linebacking core this season. Did you say coffee? I definitely missed things in earlier shows. Yeah, I got some coffee this evening. I have been drinking a lot of water on these streams, but I had to go with some coffee this evening, mainly because the wife had a pot made earlier. So it was there. It was calling my name. So I was like, may as well. And, I'm not going to lie. I start getting sleepy around 8 o'clock a lot of times. I wake up usually sometime in between 4:30 and 5:30 every day. So about 8:30, man, I start getting a little tired. Sometimes I plan on doing a stream, and then I get a little sleepy on the couch or whatever, and I'm like, I'll push another day because I'm falling asleep here and I'll be falling asleep on the stream. So I was, watching a little TV before this one started. My eyes was getting a little heavy. I was like, I think I'm gonna need some coffee for this stream, so had to go with it. W Football Going Deep said, just to finish some names, we also have Ben Keen Cutter. Hey, man, I'm loving the nicknames you're dishing out here. That's some good stuff for us. Some good stuff. I like that one. Ben Keen Cutter. I like that. What deficiency does Vic Cabral have that the staff didn't previously have? Personally, I think that it's going to help with the pass rush, Charles. I appreciate the question, by the way. I think, the course, formerly known as the Bandits, now known as the Spurs. I think that, fingers crossed, this could be the year that we finally see the production at that position that kind of this staff had back in the days at Troy. When you look at some of the guys they had playing, what was the Bandit for them at the time? You bring in Victor Cabral to kind of specialize at that position, the Spurs. And I think two guys, obviously the two ties, if you will, Ty French and Ty Bradley. Both of those two guys, I think, are going to benefit from having Vic Cabral on staff. And if you see production from that Spur position, formerly known as the Bandit, definitely look to Cabral to maybe, get some praise for that happening. But I think that, Forrest mentioned earlier, TJ Jackson off the edge, giving some pressure, but I think you also have those Spurs that'll be able to do that. Ty French, Tyron Bradley. So all in all, a lot of the transfers that we brought in should help with the pass rush in general, I think. I think that they brought in some guys that aren't necessarily going to be really starting roles, but maybe more specialized roles. And when you're able to bring in guys for just specialized roles, that shows you kind of the depth that you have on this defense, right? Because you weren't looking to necessarily fill starter roles with a lot of these. Now, some in the defensive backfield, obviously you were, but when we're talking about the linebacking core and we're talking about the defensive line, you really didn't need to bring in guys to necessarily be starters, but more have those specialized roles that you are going to use them a lot. And they're kind of maybe going to be part-time starters, but that just speaks to the depth that we have on defense that not a lot of people are talking about, I think. So other than that, guys, there were a couple other things I wanted to highlight here. One of those being GG himself, as we were kind of talking about him briefly. Garrett Green, of course, much like he did last year, went to get out this year again to the Manning Passing Academy, and he was actually one of the standouts. There's been some clips floating around on social media. Quarterbacks were throwing like a deep out route across the field. A lot of them were way off on that throw. GG was right on the money on his. So definitely, a couple of those, he looked good. But there was a write up here by On3 kind of talking about the standout performers. And if we scroll down here, it's really some good things to say about Garrett Green that I think will get you guys excited. So let me pull that up here. All right. So here's what they had to say about Garrett Green. When the quarterbacks chatted about who flashed during the event, one name that continued to come up was Green, and for good reason. The West Virginia starter had a nice throwing session, working the intermediate and deep game well relative to the 40-plus quarterbacks who competed in the event. Green made his case for one of the Big 12's best quarterbacks at the event, and with some nice throws from Baylor's DeQuan Finn, who's transferring in from Toledo, if I'm not mistaken. Iowa State's Rocco Becht, of course, the son of former WVU player Anthony Becht, and Houston's Donovan Smith, who we saw last season. The new look Big 12 was well represented at the Manning Passing Academy. But good to hear that Garrett Green was a standout there, and I think GG's in for a special season if he can, knock on wood, stay healthy. Hopefully he can. We had those couple of games last year, the Pitt game and the Texas Tech game, where we kind of had to miss him. And then the TCU game, of course, he was playing in that game injured as well, but still battled through. And that just shows you the moxie of Garrett Green to not only battle through, but run a touchdown in that game with an ankle injury. And of course, still find a way to lead us to victory. But I think this year we're going to see a more polished Garrett Green. And that's something when it comes to, West Virginia quarterbacks. A lot of the times, their second year in the program, their second year starting, they usually take a big leap. And when you look at Garrett Green and what he did last season, 16 TDs versus 4 interceptions, near the top of the country in, yards per completion, led the country in big-time throw percentage, according to PFF, over 700 rushing yards. And if he takes a big step forward, we're talking about a, very, very, very special season that he could potentially have. So glad to see him, being mentioned as a standout at the Manning Passing Academy. And I think that goes to show, some of the things that they talked about improving for him throughout this offseason, the footwork, the timing on the short to intermediate throws, is paying dividends. And hopefully we're going to see, that in the fall come to fruition as well. And if we do, I think you're going to see that stat that everyone keeps wanting to nag about, that completion percentage. I think you're going to see it rise significantly. And then I don't know what people are going to complain about then, because that's the only thing they ever can bring up as the knock on Garrett Green is that completion percentage. And then at that point, it's going to be all good things with GG, I think. All good things for sure. W Football Going Deeper says Cabral has a type of energy that fits this team. Coach Brown got it accidentally with Marshall and Stewart, but was intentional about it with Cabral. I agree. From the videos that we've seen of him, he definitely brings that energy to the squad. I like that too. I love the coaches that have that energy. Look at Chad Scott on offense. You mentioned Marshall and Blaine Stewart as well. They have that to him, and Cabral definitely has that energy as well that I think is, persistent through a lot of this coaching staff. And one good thing you love to see, and it helps with those relationships here among the team. And I think team chemistry is at an all-time high, and hopefully the same is true among the coaching staff, and it certainly seems to be. Cabral. Tim Green says, if we go undefeated, I think GG has a great chance of winning Heisman. I know that's a lot to ask. I'm just saying, hey, not necessarily a lot to ask. I mean, you look at TCU 2 years ago, no one saw Max Duggan getting into that race, and he led them to a special season. Those are two quarterbacks that are somewhat similar, some would say as well. So definitely not out of the realm of possibility, if I could get that word out right, that GG does, wind up there if West Virginia has a special season like we think they possibly can, Tim, for sure. Not too far of a stretch, man. But other than that, I wanted to share a little bit of update on the WVU football uniform set. Courtesy of Uniswag, they put out a nice little video I'm going to share with you guys, about 6 minutes long, I think. But before I get into it, one of the main reasons I wanted to highlight it is because, when they revealed the uniforms to us at the spring game, you had the blue helmet, the gold helmet, and the white helmet. The blue helmet and the gold helmet had, of course, the traditional Flying WV on it. And, of course, the white helmet had the state outline logo, similar to kind of the Country Roads uniforms. But then some pictures started floating around on social media of, the mannequins they have there with the uniforms on them. And the gold helmet that they had on that mannequin had the same logo, has this logo on it. So I was kind of curious. I wonder if we're going to have two different gold helmets, or if the gold and white helmet are both going to have that and the blue's only going to have the Flying WV. Well, we got our answer today. The gold helmets, when we play at home, are going to have the Flying WV on them, and the gold helmets when we play on the road are going to have the state outline logo on them. But enough of me explaining it to you. Let's let the creators of the uniform and the people behind the scenes there at WVU explain it in this great video that was put out today by Uniswag. Like I said, I'll share it with you guys, about 5 to 6 minutes long, and then I'll come back and chat with you guys a little bit more. And I got a couple more news topics before we wrap this up. But I think you guys will enjoy this. I definitely did.
Like to mix the white pants with the blue top and the gold top with the blue pants and all that. And in the past, they've kind of locked up and not really looked like they were designed together. So we really made an intentional effort for each piece, no matter how they are paired, to look like it was designed to go together. So within the uniforms, our contract came up to get the new blue, gold, and white kits with Nike. So we kind of started taking a look at what direction we want to take this. That took us into looking a little bit towards the past. We're not that Penn State. We don't have kind of that iconic kit. So we wanted to kind of create that. We wanted you to be able to look at our combinations and the blue and the gold lockup and know it's us.
So our face mask is now switched back to navy for the first time since 2012. Previously, from 13 to 23, it was black. So we went back to the custom navy face mask, and then we just tried to tie it all together with all the navy throughout the whole helmet with the chin strap and then the flakes in the helmet. This is the stripe I was talking about on the gold pant that Coach Don Nealon in 1980 introduced. It's back for our new set, and then we also have the Flying WV on the shoulders, which is also back since 2012. One cool new feature on all of our helmets this year, introducing of some flakes in all colors of the helmets. So the blue one actually has a gold hint of flakes with a little matte color over top of it. And then we added a new chin strap to the line this year. We decided to go with Country Roads up the strap, and then on the cup we did the Flying WV, which is brand new for this year. For our white helmet, since I believe 2013, we've had white face mask on white helmet. We flipped it to the blue, and then we also changed the bumpers to the blue and gold as well. And then we jumped to the pants with the stripes on it, and these are prominent back in the day for when we beat Virginia Tech and Pitt, both on the road back-to-back weeks. And then as you see on this jersey, our away threads all say West Virginia, and then our home blue and gold say Mountaineers on the front. Jumping over to our gold uniform, this is the first time that they've had such a prominent stripe down the side, which is new for us. And then with the gold helmet, we added the new ability to change the decal based off of if we're wearing it home or away. So we have the state outline with the Flying WV for away games, and then the normal Flying WV for home games.
Before we debuted them, Matt Wells approached us and said we had to go ahead to do a black uniform. And in doing so, he said, go ahead and explore the coal theme. So we started there, and I put together a couple mock-ups and kind of thought, you know what, if we're going to do this, let's do it right. Let's go meet the coal miners. Let's go down there. Let's see what elements they're working with. Let's live a life in the day of a coal miner, right? So we went there in the beginning of June last year, and our buddy Joe from Lear Mine showed us around and spent his whole day dedicated to us and took us underground, and we got to see the equipment that they use. We got to put on the uniform and just explore pretty much everything, which was terrifying for me.
I believe that they've always had like rumblings of wanting a black uniform here at West Virginia. So, it really came about with Matt Wells and the athletic department trying to push forward, getting it all put together to actually make it happen. So I didn't do much with the jersey, the detail on the jersey, but I know that Kristen Cold Snow and Matt Wells, they went to a mine and really looked into everything from the long wall to the different type of tools that they use in a mine, to really try and encapsulate it all into a uniform.
So one of the things that kind of struck me was their deep sense of duty to take care of each other and see each other and bring each other above ground at the end of the day. So I kind of started taking a look at like safety elements and their uniform. What does that look like? And how can we apply that to what we wear on field? So there's a lot of things you see, like the reflective safety strips were inspired by the actual uniform that they wear, the double strip on the leg, the vertical strip on the arm. The numbers are actually a reflective twill inspired by the reflective elements of the jersey that they wear, or the uniform that they wear underground, rather. One of the elements that I'm most proud of is I took a lot of pictures down there, and the light caught the wall just perfect one day, or in one area, and I took a shot of it and vectorized it and applied the color palette available with Nike, and that's what you actually see in the Cole pattern. So in the sleeves and down the leg, that's an actual wall from Grafton, West Virginia.
For our helmet, we have, let's start with the stripe. So the stripe is supposed to emulate a light hitting coal. So the white is supposed to be the light, and then down the stripe here, it's supposed to be like the coal wall. We put Mountaineers Semper Liberi on the back, which is, I believe it's Latin for Mountaineers are always free. And then we did a stack, Big 12, and then your stickers on the back. All of our ordering took place about a year in advance. I believe these were ordered last March or February. So with our normal uniforms, they come from a team line, which is just a Nike and ours, product together. This was more of a Nike team design based, to where it's like a one-off design. So it's not technically our team line, but it's an alternate. The cool thing about what Nike does is we can enter in their name and their number and then their size. So then it comes already made for them with their name and number on it. But then you never know with, how college football is now. So you always have to, have extras. And so what we do is we order blank nameplates, and then we order blank tackle twill. So it's just letters, and we'll have a local seamstress sew on nameplates now.
Just thought it would be cool. One of the cool things about working here is you get to try different things. And when they approached me about the Country Roads uniforms, I was ecstatic. And the fact that we got to do, another staple set with the gold, the blue, the white, and then the alt set was just a dream come true. It was so much fun. And I grew up here, I grew up in Fairmont, just down the road. As far as the coal mine uniforms go, like I rode the bus to school listening to the shift schedule on the radio. And it's just so deeply ingrained in West Virginians.
So good stuff there from Uniswag, giving us some new info. Like I said, the biggest thing that came out to me from those was the gold helmets. We got two different variations, gold helmet for home and gold helmet for the road, which you guys know me.
I love gold.
That's my favorite. If it was up to me, we'd go all gold all the time. I know I'm in the minority there, but I love it, man. I love it. So definitely want to touch on that. And speaking of, I also can share now, you guys may have seen this going around. The uniforms have arrived. As you see here, they're unboxing them there. And so our new set is there. There is Bazooka Burks' uniform himself with that pretty new navy blue uniform with the flying WV on the sleeves there. So they are there, and they're ready for August 31st, as are all of us throughout the fan base. Can't wait to see the new uniforms on the field, and hopefully do it in a winning fashion against Penn State. Should be a fun game there, but definitely wanted to have a little bit of uniform talk there. I got some fireworks still going off outside. Hopefully the mic's not picking that up. It was one of the videos going on. I kept hearing it, and I was like, what is that? I couldn't figure out what that noise. I thought it was something in my office for a second. It took me a second to realize it was fireworks coming outside the window there. Let's see here. Let me catch up with you guys in chat. Tim says, I love gold. Me too, Tim. Tim says, that's pretty cool. I spent most of my life in the underground coal mines. That's awesome, Tim. Hey, thank you for that, man. And we appreciate that, dude. We really do. Jordan, I ordered my mini coal helmet when you did. When did we get them? I think when I ordered them, I believe it said sometime in the middle of this month. I want to say it was maybe it was July. I want to say 23rd. I don't know right off. I'd have to look again. But it's sometime in the the teens to 20s of this month, I think we should be getting those, Eric. I'm pretty sure. I know it's sometime this month for sure that they're supposed to be sending those out. So whenever they do come, I'm probably going to do an unboxing here on the channel for it when I open that thing up for sure. And going to have to find a spot here in the background for it, man. I don't know if I'm going to put another peg in the pegboard, or might have to have its own special spot off to the side there or something. Definitely got to add it though for sure. Drum Wolf, what's going on, man? Good to see you in here. Let's go Mountaineers, indeed, as always, as always. And then the other couple things I had, guys, if you guys got any questions or anything, throw them in there. I'll touch up with you guys one more time before we close out, because I only got a couple little more pieces of news I want to talk about that aren't necessarily WVU football related, more WVU adjacent. One of those being, maybe some of you guys saw this, CBS Sports put out their list of the top 10 best playmaking duos of all time. It's a top 50 list, actually, but this picture here is the top 10. And, of course, how about our Mountaineers there coming up at number 3, the third best duo of all time, according to CBS Sports, which, if you're up that high, you're making a great case. I think it's arguable, could you put them 2 or 1? Maybe. I think the thing that they're missing that number 1 and number 2 have is that ever elusive national championship that they were very, very close to having. But Pat White and Steve Slayton ranked as the number 3 college football duo of all time. But how about, West Virginia, the state, ending up on that list twice? You see Chad Pennington and Randy Moss from Marshall there at 6th as well. But I love seeing the love for Pat White and Steve Slayton, well-deserved, which made me go back and reminisce, watch some highlights there. They were playing back when I was in high school. So, that was kind of the perfect time for me. And obviously those were kind of my glory days up till now, and ready to start some new glory days and a new great run starting here in 2024. But that was great to reminisce and great to see them get some respect there. I rated the number 3 playmaking duo of all time there by CBS Sports. So did want to share that in case you guys didn't see that one. But the other thing was, like I said, this more WVU adjacent. Of course, happens in the summer. The TBT tournament about to start again. July 12th in Buchanan is going to be their Rebition game. And then I think it's late. July 20th will be the first TBT game. They're playing in the Pittsburgh Regional, but they finalized the roster here. You see pretty much all Mountaineers, save for a couple players there, Xavier Bledson and Marcus Keene, which Marcus Keene has been a very good player in the TBT from what I understand. But you see the TBT roster there for West Virginia, going to be coached by, former Mountaineer Chase Harler now, taking over the coaching role. Going to have Tavon Myers, Issa Ahmad, Wesley Harris, Sags, John Holton, Taz Sherman, Tariq Phillip, and Devin Williams there. So wish those former Mountaineers and the couple other additions the best of luck there in the TBT there playing for West Virginia. Wanted to share that roster as well. But I think that's pretty much all I've got, guys, unless you guys got any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to talk about. Throw it in there. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to do that. And before we get ready to close out, though, do want to remind everybody, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this after fact on a playback, you can really help out a ton just by hitting that little thumbs up button. Give me a like on the video. Helps a ton with the YouTube algorithm. Of course, if you're a WVU football fan, be sure and subscribe here. Going to be more and more content coming the closer we get to the season. And then once we get in season, it's going to be so much content you don't know what to do with. And then, of course, if you are able, I would love it if you would support me by becoming a channel member here. You can do it for as low as $2.99 a month, and you get a ton of bonus content. And really, my goal was to eventually, hopefully, be able to do this full time, and you guys will be the catalyst for me to be able to do that, and would need your help there. So if you can, I would really appreciate that. But if you can't help me there and can't help me monetarily, you can help me fast, easy, and free by just hitting the thumbs up button and by subscribing to the channel here. And I appreciate that just as much as well. And if you didn't get a chance to jump in the chat here live, throw something in the comments. If you got any thoughts there, I'll respond there in text form after the fact. But I do appreciate everybody that hopped in here live tonight and tuned in and chimed in. Been some good interactions and a lot of fun stuff to talk about, guys. But appreciate everyone, man. Hope everyone's had a great 4th, great holiday there, and hopefully it's going to be a great weekend. And next week we got Big 12 Media Days coming up, so hopefully we'll have some more things to talk about. And hey, be on the lookout. Maybe we could get some recruiting news coming down the line tomorrow. I know there's a linebacker has us in his top 4, making a decision. We'll see what happens there, and a couple other prospects over the coming weeks that could be adding to this already great 2025 WVU football recruiting class. One of the top ones in the Big 12 Conference right now, top 20 in the country, and continuing to build that over 20 commits now And hopefully maybe it'll grow even further by the next time we talk. But if any of those guys do come in, of course, I will cover here on the Cut Your Roads webcast. So keep it tuned in here for some WVU football recruiting coverage as we proceed through the offseason. And the closer we get to the preseason, there will be a ton of coverage on the 2024 season, which should be a really fun one, guys. Going to have some podcasts coming out soon with me, Steven, and Bradley. We're going to be diving into those here in the coming weeks. And of course, we're targeting early to mid-August for the season prediction roundtable. Always one of our favorite episodes every year, where we go through the WVU schedule game by game, each come up with our predicted records for the WVU football season. So that's a lot of fun. So definitely got that coming in the near future as well. So no better time to subscribe if you're a WVU football fan indeed. So Tim, Earl, Eric, Forrest, Drum Wolf, anybody else, hopefully I didn't miss any names there. Anybody that's been in here, appreciate everybody that hopped in here, whether you were in the chat or whether you were just tuning in. I really appreciate you guys, as I always do. Hope everyone has a great night. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.